Would you like to hear that?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I can tell the whole story there. I just lost a good friend of mine, and I'll just play the song and see if it holds up without me telling you about this guy, okay? Well, I can't help myself. There was this famous guy in Nashville, where I come from. There's two sides of Nashville. There's this part where they have a lot of starch. They sell a lot of starch. And those Western outfits. And then there's another side of town that's kind of the hippie side of town. And we had an unofficial mayor named Skip Litz, and he used to come into all the bars and yell, "Play a fucking train song." I live in Little Hollywood, Tennessee. That's what they call it. It's right outside of Nashville. It's this tiny little neighborhood where all our houses are sort of like Mexican houses. It's really a beautiful part of the city. I don't know how we found the house, but we bought it, we live there, we love it. Every day, I'm one of these people, you'd be surprised, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I sleep twice during the day. So my first time I get up is at 5 in the morning, and I like to get up and go walk for as far as I can, right? So I get up at 5, and the sun's about coming up, and I'm walking around this block, Little Hollywood, the block. And there's this old man sitting out on the porch with his shirt off. And it looks like the guys from BR549 are sitting there with him. And they're drinking whiskey. And I thought, well, see, now I'm up early. They're out late. And I didn't think nothing of it. I just kept walking. And the next day I came back around the corner. I was doing my walk. I would go around about 6 or 7 times, just to get the blood going before you have to pick up the phone and all that shit that life, makes you do. And so I'm walking by, and the next time I see the same guy, BR549 is not there, but this old man, guts out to here. He don't give a shit, man. He's got no shirt on. He's drinking Southern Comfort. It's 6:30 in the morning. He's got a joint hanging out of his mouth. So I walk by him and I don't say anything. He says, "Hey, boy!" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You want a cigarette?" And I said, No, I'm good." He says, "All that exercise is going to kill you one day." And I thought, I like this guy already. One of my neighbors, So this is a true story. In fact, almost everything I say is true, but this is true. So then I go down to this bar called the Radio Cafe, and I'm sitting at the bar and I'm having a Rolling Rock, and these girls are sitting down at this table behind me, and I can overhear them telling this story about how the other night this old man that they knew who had worked at the Radio Cafe, they said he drove by the cafe. He was on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, but he had a moped helmet, and the helmet was kind of broke, and it was leaning to the side. And he was going about 6 miles an hour, and he looked like he didn't know where he was. And there's this 4-way stop there where everybody has to stop right in front of this Radio Cafe, which is a little hangout in my neighborhood. And so these girls said, this guy pulls up to the stop sign, honks his horn. Everybody looks up, and he's got his crooked helmet on. He says, "Hey, everybody! Woo!" And what I forgot to tell you was, there's like 9 cop cars behind him with the lights going. And he's going like, not only is he going like 7, but he's stopping at the stop signs. Got his helmet fucked up. He sees his buddies, beep, beep, hey! Stop! See you tomorrow night, man. Car behind, he goes driving off down the road. I found out later that when they finally caught him, they just beat the hell out of him. But this is one of those guys that you just couldn't beat the hell out of, You could take his arm off, he'd say, yeah, keep it, So But when I heard this story from these girls, that's what I do. I was like, this is my job. This is what I do for a living. I really don't have to work or nothing. I just have to collect shit like this, you know? So I'm like, immediately I'm sitting at this table with these girls. I said, I got to know more about this guy, you know, that you're talking about. They said, well, he calls himself Uncle Skip. I said, oh man, I got this guy on my block that calls himself Uncle Skip, man. They said, I think it's the same guy. He runs sound down here. And I thought, no shit, I gotta know this guy. So then, the next time I'm walking, I see him and he's got the joint and the whiskey, right? And I said, yeah, man, I'll have a plug of that, no problem. Shit. And I, you know, took a hit off the joint with him and we stood there and we talked and he started telling me this great story that I would tell it to you, but he never finished it. So anyway, this is what happens to this guy. I found out as I learned through this guy, this character, everybody in East Nashville knew this guy. He was very famous. He liked train songs. And every time he walked into a bar, he yelled, play a fucking train song until he got it. And if he didn't get it, usually the band got fired before he got kicked out. And I have watched, I swear to you, I'm not making this up, I have watched Emmylou Harris stop her set and play a train song for this guy. I watched Gillian Welch do the same thing. I watched Kevin Welch do this. I've watched many different artists go, hey, Skip, shit, yeah, I'll do a train song, because that's what he liked. And he was a big biker-looking guy, and his friends that, you know, he hung around with, it just looked like you should just play the fucking train song. He drove one of those big, long, black Cadillacs. I love this. And this might make you think less of me, but I don't give a shit. This guy, he had one of these long, black Cadillacs, no plates. Plates are all fucked up. No driver's license. No any of that stuff. The trunk of the car was full of a felony amount of drugs at almost all times. He drove as fast as he could everywhere he went. And when he parked at a bar, he would pull, because his heart was fucked up, so he would just pull right up to the door to where you had to kind of shimmy around his car to get in. And how this guy never got in trouble, I will never know. But I can't tell you how thrilling it is to go 80 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone with a felony amount of drugs in the back of a Cadillac with some old Vietnam veteran that doesn't give a shit about anything. And I wouldn't suggest it to some of you younger kids to try, but some of you older people whose lives aren't going to work out anyway. You gotta give it a shot, man. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, to make a short story long, which is pretty much the trademark of my career, really. So this guy Skip and me, we become best friends. Every morning he gets up, he drives up to my house, we hang out, we sit around, we talk about his Cadillac. That was my life. If I wasn't home, I was hanging out with my buddy Skip, who I found out he had tour managed Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. That was his job until his health got so bad that he couldn't do it anymore. So he ran sound at this local bar. Well, the doctors told him, the story gets sad for a minute. Some of my stories will get sad for a minute, but not for very long. I'll say some dirty word and we'll all laugh. Am I wrong? Right? That's the way it is. So this guy goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, man, you got cancer in your stomach. Shit, you're done, man. And my buddy says, bullshit. So he's sitting in the hospital for like a week, and it wasn't the veterans hospital. Was any veterans here? Yeah. Your hospitals are fucked. You know what I mean? More than any other shit we should be talking about, we should be talking about getting you guys as hospitals together, because you guys have worked so hard for this country, and then you can throw confetti at fucking anybody, but you gotta have a nice hospital for these people that do these things for these countries. And that always made me mad about my friend this friend of mine, I'd take him to the VA hospital and they'd treat him like he owed them something, you know, and I thought they owed him something. So one day he passes out in his house and the ambulance comes and they don't take him to the VA, they take him to the normal hospital. He calls my house like I'm in the normal fucking hospital. This is fucking great. I got a morphine drip, man. I just hit the button. I just hit the button. Hang on, I hit the button. I go, that sounds great. He goes, yeah, they said I'm going to die, though, which is a drag. And I thought, I don't believe you. I don't believe that this guy's going to die. So me and my wife, we had become his family by this time. He didn't have any family. We're not even sure his name was Skip. We're still trying to figure this out. He said he was a 57-year-old man named Skip Litz, and my wife and I were still looking into that. Either way, I don't care what his name was. I love him, you know. So he's up in the hospital. In the hospital, they call my house, and they say, he says that you're his family. We have bad news. We don't think he's going to make it through the night. He doesn't want to be here. He wants to talk to you. So, great. So I put him on the phone. He says, listen, man, they tell me I'm going to die. You think I want to die in this fucking hospital? Listen, come get me. I want to go have a grill. We're going to have a barbecue in your backyard. And then at the end of it, I'll die. It'll be great. I said, for you, maybe. The rest of us are going to have a lot of cleaning up to do. Not to mention phone calls and things we have to make. So, but he's my buddy, right? So I do it anyway. Honest to God, I show up at the hospital. He's got a joint hanging out of his mouth. He's got his boots on. He's in his hospital, whatever that gown is that they make so your ass hangs out, which I think they do on purpose to embarrass you and make you feel less than them. We do. They could make a gown where your ass didn't hang out. They do that on purpose. So he's walking around. He's got that shit going on. Now listen to this. You won't believe this. He's got all these plastic spoons taped to himself. And he's walking into all these old people's rooms. And he's saying, they fucked up my plastic surgery, man. he said, I don't look a thing like Elvis, man. This is bullshit. And all these old people who are obviously not going to be around much longer, they were laughing so hard. And the doctors would be like, Mr. Litz, we need you to come out here. And he's smoking a joint. And I'm like, oh, man, you guys fucked up my plastic surgery. And they're like, please. And you can tell the old people are like, don't make him leave. Jesus. What are we going to do? We're going to watch Jeopardy when he leaves? Come on. So the doctor says to me, he says, listen, this guy, he's not going to make it through the night. So he's signing himself out against all of our wishes, and you're in charge of him. So there you go. That's how this works out. So I said, fine. I don't give a shit. I'll sign. He signs. We drive off. We go to my house. We have a barbecue. We start, and they say as soon as his drugs wear off, he'll probably die. So we eat a hamburger. We're fucking around, listening to the oldie station. She said, Brandy, you're a fine girl. I'm doing all that. Having a great time. He starts drinking Southern Comfort. And then at about 8, he decides he wants to go see BR 549 downtown. I started thinking, I don't think this guy's going to die. And he didn't chip in for shit at the barbecue. You know? So we take him downtown to see BR 549. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, I thought, fuck, I'm going to die, you know? And I said, hey, man, perfect. Hey, man, I think I'm going to die. I'm going to go home. So I went home. What is that, Sprite? That's great. You must really think that's Sprite in there. So anyway, I left him. I went home, and about 3 days later, he shows up in a truck. I don't know whose truck it was. there's like 3 girls in the truck with him, and he's got a piano in the back of the truck. And he unloads, he makes the girls unload the piano, right? And he says, hey, you saved my life, man. I wanted to give you this piano. And I said, great. He says, if you were single, I'd have brought you these chicks. So then he says to me, I'm sorry this is such a long story, but this is a true story, and it means a lot to me because a good friend, and I hope you enjoy it. And it does have a bit of a sad ending, but which story doesn't, right? So he says to me, man, the doctors say there's this surgery they can give him that's going to take him out of pain, but not really change things, but make him so that he can enjoy the last few months of his life more. So they say, but you might not make it through this surgery. So I say, that's great, try it, you got to try it. So we take him down to the VA, and the night before the surgery, he calls me up and says, hey, sunshine. I said, yeah. He says, you got to get out of here. I said, okay. He said, bring some money. I said, all right. So I bring some money, and when I get there, he's in his jeans and his boots and his jacket, but he's still got the tubes hanging out of his arms and the thing around his wrist. And he says, let's go. And I said, well, what are you talking about? Let's go. He says, fuck you. I said, what do you mean, fuck me? He says, come on, let's go. So we left. And we get in my car. He says, I got to go to the bar. I got to get a drink. So we go to this bar. He says, I want 2 Southern Comforts to the lady. He said, and the lady says, okay. He says, I'm going to die tomorrow, lady. She says, okay. Here's your drink. She says, can I see your breasts? And she showed him to him. Because he was going to die. Then, the next day I went to Philadelphia to do a tour. And my wife called me and she said, hey man, he didn't die. I wanted to call the bar and tell that girl, you know. How you could have kept your breasts to yourself. Nevertheless, he was feeling good, and he said, you know what I'd really like to do, man? I know I don't have a lot of time left, but I want to tour manage again, you know? He said, come with me. Let me go with you. I'll be your tour manager. So I said, okay, you can do it. So we went to, I'm sorry, the song's about an eighth of as long as the story. I was used to hear when I'd be on the road, hey, you know, your wife's running around with this old biker. I'd say, I know. He's looking after her. Anyway, so he tour managed me for a while, and then we were going up to Virginia to do a tour, and I went over to pick him up. And I walked into his apartment to get him, and he was asleep on the sofa, kind of laughing. And I said, come on, get up, man, get up. And he wouldn't get up. So I shook him. When I shook him, he was really cold. So I called the police. I tried to get rid of all the drugs. Take them back to the people he bought them from. And the police came and they made me leave, but not before we got to sit on the couch and have about a half-hour conversation. They found some marijuana. They said, was this man a drug dealer? I said, yes. The cop said, well, who did he sell drugs to? I said, me. What are you going to do, arrest us now? But anyway, I just want you to know that he was real famous around there. So there was a big article in the Nashville paper when he died that said, remember that guy that you heard yell, play a fucking train song? Well, he's gone. And I never saw a funeral like that where
there was like a lot of singers there. Not just singers like me, like not just folk singers like me who travel, but country music stars and stuff were there. They were friends of this guy's. And there was also a lot of homeless people there. And they all got to meet each other. And I remember one of the homeless guys going, I didn't know Skip knew any of y'all. Like, I thought he lived in the street like me, you know. And sometimes he did. He was just one of those guys.
So anyway, about a week later I was on the road and I wanted to make this song for my friend. He always used to say, you're a songwriter? And he'd say, no baby, I'm a song. So this song is probably not as good of a song as he was.
Park it up on the sidewalk like he owned the whole downtown. Hear him talking to some chick through a thick ghost of smoke, through a thicker haze of southern comfort and cold. Say, girl, you're hot down the hinges, hanging off the gates of hell. Don't be afraid to turn to me, babe, if he don't treat you well. And by he meant me, so I laughed and I shook his head. He laughed a little bit louder as he yelled about the band. The bed train song, pull me one more round, make him leave my boots on the day to lay me down. I may run away, locomotive out on this one track mind. And I'm looking for any kind of trouble that I can find. Got this old black leather jacket, got this pack of Marlboro Reds, got this stash here in my pocket, got these thoughts in my own head. The right to run until I gotta walk, till I've gotta go. This moment that I'm in right now, and nothing else at all. Play train song, pull me one more round, make him leave my boots on the day to lay me down. I may run away, locomotive out on this one track line. Looked around this place, found him cool down on the sofa, a little smile across his face. And though I tried to throw my sadness, somehow I just could not leave. Oh man looked to me like he died laughing in his sleep, singing a train song, drinking one last round, made him leave his boots on the day to lay down now. He was a long way, locomotive out of this one track line. Thank you.